So video A went over a mole to mole problem, but we always don't start with moles, or that's not always the end point that we want. So today we're going to do a mole to gram problem. So we're going to try one together, and then we will go through another one, and then I'll have you guys try one on your own. So in this problem, it says we have photosynthesis, which produces glucose and oxygen, so from carbon dioxide and water. So we know that the reaction was CO2 because carbon dioxide and water make glucose and oxygen. So we're going to plants take in carbon dioxide and water, and they give off glucose and oxygen. So we're going to balance. We're going to do 6's in front of these, and then we have our balanced reaction. So it's asking us what mass in grams of glucose is produced if we put in 3 moles of water. So our given here is going to be the 3.00 moles of water. And our unknown is going to be the mass in grams, so we're going to do grams of glucose, which is the C6H12O6. So you'll notice that we're switching substances, or we're comparing substances. We're comparing water to glucose. So we need to go to our recipe, which is our reaction, and we need to compare water to glucose. And if we're comparing elements or molecules, then we're going to use our unit that allows us to compare, which is a mole. So the coefficient in front of water is a 6, so that means that 6 moles of water will give us, and then in front of glucose is technically a 1, so it'll give us 1 mole of glucose. So now we have our mole to mole ratio. So we're going to start our problem and we'll figure out where we're going. So our end goal is to get to grams of glucose. So that's where we need to get. We need to figure out the mass of glucose. So we're going to start with our given. I'm going to start my pick of pens. I'm going to start with 3.00 moles of water. We're, again, trying to switch substances. So our unit that allows us to switch is the mole, which happens to be what our given is in. So we look at our mole to mole ratio over here, and we can already plug this in because our given is in our comparative unit. It's in the mole already. So we're going to go here, and I'm going to plug in my unit. So we want to cancel out moles of water. So on the bottom here, I'm going to put 6 moles of water so we can get rid of the water, which means that the other part has to go on top. Okay, so we are now, just get our pen, we're going to cross out moles of water, and right now our unit would be moles of glucose, which is great, we're in glucose, but it wants mass. If you look over here, it wanted grams of glucose. So how do we go from moles to grams? Well, we need to figure out our molar mass of glucose. We don't care about the molar mass of water because we don't have water anymore. We have glucose. So we're going to look up the periodic table so we can do 12.01, and then there are 6 of them. Hydrogen, which is 1.01, and there are 12 of them. And then oxygen is 16.00, and there are 6 of them. So we're using our molar mass. And when we calculate that out, we end up getting 80.18 grams per mole of glucose. So we don't have that's not just our grams, that's our grams per mole. So that's how many, if we had 1 mole, how much glucose would weigh. So now we can go and we can finish our dimensional analysis. So I'm going to extend my line. All right, so now we're paying attention to what we're canceling out. So I want to cancel out moles of glucose, which means we want the 1 mole from our molar mass to be on the bottom. And that means that the 80.1 gram goes on the top. Now, if we look, our moles of glucose are gone, and we're left with grams of glucose. Our given has 3 significant figures. Remember, those zeros count since there's a decimal. And we're going to calculate this out, so you do 3 times 80.18 divided by 6. And when you calculate this, you get 90.1 grams of C6H12O6. So that's our first answer. Okay, so we'll try one more together. We'll do example 9. And then I'll have you guys try the you try on your own. So we're using the same reaction here. Okay, so it's asking what mass of carbon dioxide in grams is needed to react with the 3 moles of water in the reaction above. So let's just look at our reaction again. So this time we're talking about carbon dioxide and water. So our given is 3.00 moles of water again, and our unknown is mass of carbon dioxide. So again, you look, we're comparing substances. We're talking about water to carbon dioxide. So we go to our reaction and we compare water and carbon dioxide, and their mole-to-mole ratio is 6 moles of CO2 for every 6 moles of water. You can keep that as 6 to 6, or we can simplify it to 1 mole of carbon dioxide for every 1 mole of water, because we can simplify the coefficients. So we can these are both divisible by 6. We can simplify it. You do not have to. It just makes the calculations a little easier. Okay, so we're going to start with our given. So I'm going to draw my fence. 3.00 moles of water. All right, so we're trying to cancel out moles of water. So we're in our unit that allows us to compare. So we can use this. This is our goal, is to use this mole-to-mole ratio. So I want to put the 1 mole of water on the bottom so that the units will cancel out. So I'm going to put 1 mole of H2O on the bottom, which means that the 1 mole of CO2 has to go on the top. So now we're in moles of CO2, but again, the question's asking for grams. Okay, so moles of water, those are gone. We're left with moles of CO2, so we have to keep going. So we need to find the molar mass of CO2. So we do 12.01 plus 16.00 times 2. We end up getting 44.01 grams in 1 mole. Okay, so that's our molar mass. We're going to put the 1 mole of carbon dioxide on the bottom, which means that the 44.01 gram goes on top. Moles cancel out. We're left with grams. We would want 3 sig figs, so our answer would be 132 grams of CO2. All right, so why don't you guys try the you try? Okay, so go through and try the you try right here.